Superintendent Bates, who is one of our board members, has passed out a handout that I encourage you to look through, but we'll also be doing our presentation up here. So somehow if you could look at both places at once, that would be great. So Beach Haven Park is a really incredible opportunity. As you can see here in the general layout, this park would affect a section of town that has had completely no walkable or pedestrian access to parks. You can see that we're talking about Columbia Brookside, Brooklyn Community. The north end of the park would be within walking distance of Oglethorpe Elementary School, Sycamore Drive, Forest Heights, Hampton Park. And then across from Matthews Motors over here, you have hundreds of families that live on the way up to Epsbridge Road. Most of the families that will be affected by this park are in the low to moderate income category. So this is a park that would have broad equity to the Athens-Clarke County community. As I said, we're presenting as part of a coalition. In the packets that were sent over to you today, we've listed those other members, and we really are grateful for everyone that's offered their support, advice, and excitement for this project. I want to be clear that as the Heritage Foundation, obviously our mission statement is to develop community-wide understanding of the value of historic buildings, neighborhoods, and heritage. And this certainly does that. As you'll see, this preserves a very important piece of Athens history, while also ensuring that a part of Athens history that's often untold, the African-American master craftsmen that built our city, while it also pays tribute to that, this isn't just about the past, it's also about the future. This is our once-in-a-10-year shot to see whether or not you feel that the western residents of Athens-Clarke County deserve access to a park. Without this opportunity, not only will we lose the priceless architectural features that we're about to go over, but the people that we just showed you on that neighborhood map will not have access to a park. The basics on Beach Haven, it's 149 acres along the middle of Coney River. As you can see, it's a high priority environment. There are several key features which you'll see in the photographs in your packet, including the summer house, the Camelback Bridge, and the gardens and landscape. It was originally owned by the Rowland family. Actually, prior to that, the Epps family briefly owned it. And the Rowland family developed it around the World War I era. Most importantly, the work that you see here, these incredible, stunning, nationally renowned artifacts, were built by master craftsmen, African-American master craftsmen, that were part of the mercantile class here in Athens, Georgia. Ike Osborne was a master stonemason who constructed the bridges you see there, a bridge that, one of those bridges is still rated to hold over 6 tons that far later. And the house, which is considered one of the best arts and crafts style architecture pieces in the Southeast, was constructed by Jim Glenn, a master carpenter. Best of all, since I know that there are so many projects you're being asked to contend with, we're not asking you to start a project from scratch. The land is already owned by Athens-Clarke County. We view this as phase 3 of an ongoing project. Phase 1 began in 2005 and ran through 2018 and involved the land acquisition by Athens-Clarke County of those 149 acres. We're asking you to help us continue being good stewards of that property and to convert it for publicly accessible parks. Phase 2 was the stabilization of the historic architecture. The community has already stepped forward to help with this. The house was in bad shape, the bridge was in rough shape. We raised $70,000 as a community to get this in a stable place where it's prepared for phase 3. What that stabilization has not done is prepared it to wait for 10 years. So if we want to preserve the architecture, the time is now. As far as mission significance, we see this as a public destination amenity and a passive recreation park. Let me be clear. Bishop Park, which is a drive away, certainly not walking distance for the residents in that area, offers sports facilities. But that's not the only need that communities have. As you know, our community has extreme levels of poverty, and they've also demonstrated that that poverty is aligned with high levels of PTSD among our youth. There's a lot of research to support that wilderness immersion therapy or nature immersion can be an adequate treatment or an important first step. As an example of this, Chesson Community, which is a phenomenal local organization, often takes their young people out for hikes, but often have to resort to driving to Stone Mountain or other areas where there are hiking trails. This area would be accessible by the very people that are served by organizations like Chesson Community. It would also help redevelopment and a change of perception in the Atlanta Highway corridor. It would sustain ecological integrity of the site, preserve the Athens arts and crafts architectural achievements, celebrate Athens African American culture and master craftsmanship, and the bridge that is part of this proposal would enable vastly improved access and greenway connectivity. We see, including the benefits, areas for recreational use, focused on the untold history of Athens Park community. As we mentioned, there's nature therapy and wilderness immersion for youth. We would serve surrounding neighborhoods, including Sycamore Drive, Forest Heights, Columbia Brookside, Hampton Park, Brooklyn Community, Nottingham, and more. My wife is a second grade school teacher, and I know in talking to her, the thing she was most excited to hear was that it would be within walking distance of the children at Oglethorpe Elementary School. And as you can see, one of the benefits in your packet, there's the idea of using it as a CCSD outdoor classroom. And for those that often have or choose to walk, it would be a walking corridor between Atlanta Highway and Oglethorpe Avenue. Beach Haven Park is a really special project because it sits right dead in the middle of almost every consideration you've been asked to make as a SPLOST Citizen Advisory Committee member. It offers the opportunity for education and youth development. It offers the opportunity for culture, art, and history. Geographically, and also from a historical sense, it offers an important sense of equity. If I were to ask this room about African American history in Athens, I imagine some of you could talk about Hot Corner or might be able to talk about the Civil Rights era. But how many of you could explain what was going on, what Athens looked like in the 1910s and 1920s? That's something that far too few people in our community can do. And in this case, it would be in a natural setting that offers stunning views and great ecological features. It also would preserve the environmental protection and include equitable access to the greenway for the pedestrians in that area. There's a series of quotes. Paul Deschier, who was a nationally recognized designer, preservationist, and author, visited the site. We do want to highlight that he says it's a home run in the world of cultural landscapes. Specifically, he said, it's going to bring people to Athens just because of the site. It's a whole new angle for Athens. It's going to be a defining feature of the town. That is, if we preserve it. I just want to mention as I close here and as we prepare for your questions that it's one thing to hear about this site, it's another thing entirely to be able to visit it. So we want to invite you on a tour of Beach Haven on Sunday, February 10th. That's this Sunday at 2 p.m. If you'd like to RSVP and attend a tour of the site, you can email me. It's tommy@athensparkheritage.org, and we'd love to let you see the site. I will tell you that from personal experience, having heard about the site and then actually having stepped foot, it's an entirely different experience. It's like walking into a secret garden. In fact, the gardens themselves are one of the most important parts of the architecture. We have some additional materials I look forward to referring to in your questions. I do want to just mention briefly that there are so many architectural features that you'll see in the photos, including some of the features inside the house, including some of the, as you can see, kind of the outdoor seating area, the bridge that was built by hand from stone that features set-in benches. There's a definition of arts and crafts architecture here. And of course, we will look forward to addressing your questions about the finances and the bridge. One last note is if you'll just turn to page 12 of potential uses and partnerships, we just want to highlight in our closing time here that we see this as an appropriate place for CCSD, for UGA, and for so many other important opportunities. In closing, I just want to say that this is one of those rare opportunities that SPLOST allows the community to achieve that wouldn't be possible without it. We can preserve our history, we can make sure that there's equitable access to everyone in our community that are often denied parks. And we hope that you'll help us preserve the history and look forward to the